good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News. I am Jermaine Abel sitting in today. Yes, it's a sunny day outside, and in some places it's overcast. But here in downtown Bastard, it's fairly sunny. We're here debating the weather, but according to what we've been seeing, there's possibility of showers and maybe some thunderstorm. Yes, so you should be prepared. But nevertheless, it's a quiet day today, and I've been enjoying the music. Yeah, that came up before. Yes. But yes, it's another edition of Inside the News. I'm German Abel sitting in today, and it was a busy week here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, Newsweek. Yes, sorry about that. And we'll jump into some of the details on the other side of the break, because we have to acknowledge the people who make the program possible, TDC, Carol Brewery, and then we will begin the discussions here on Inside the News.
Shopping with TDC just got much easier. Here's how. Log on to shoptdcgroup.com. Shop at your convenience at any time, from anywhere, with your smartphone, tablet, or computer. With our safe and secure payment checkout, you choose the option to pick up in-store or have your goods delivered right to your door. It's that easy. Shop tdcgroup.com, your one-stop online store.
Shop anywhere, shop anytime, same quality you love, now online. Shop
www.shoptdcgroup.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go round.
We're back here, and we're back here on WINNFM with more Inside the News. As I said before, I'm German Abel sitting in today, and we'll take a look at what's been making the news for much of this week here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, we saw that gun violence continues here in the Federation, despite us having passed stricter, amended the legislation to make it harder and stricter on people who perpetrate crimes, especially gun-related crimes. But we've saw at least 2 shooting incidents this week here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Cabinet Secretary speaks on the financial education and savings program being undertaken by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. iConnect launches a new ferry service, which is expected to provide some level of an upgrade in terms of travel between St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes. And the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank has they issued a press statement speaking to the issue of the Republic Bank saga, where funds have been debited from large sums have been debited from the accounts of many of the existing account holders within the financial institutions, which, from all indications, appears to have been a system issue that failed to debit the transactions when they were undertaken. So, yes, those are some of the issues we've been dealing with here locally. Originally, the Carib Wave exercise wrapped up over in Barbados, where a number of officers, soldiers from St. Kitts and Nevis were partaking in that training. Many of those officers will be deployed to assist with safety and security of the upcoming ICC T20 World Cup here in the Caribbean region. Yes, there are no games here. There are no official games here in St. Kitts, but nevertheless, safety and security is paramount. And then Antigua and Barbuda, which will be hosting games. They'll also be hosting the SITS conference next week. So safety and security there as well, because there'll be a large contingent of representatives from the United Nations, small island developing states, and other regional and world leaders will be over in Antigua next week. No, not the coming week, but the following week, the week of the 27th to the 30th or the 31st. They'll be at the SITS conference, so they'll be providing some level of safety and providing security service there. Major undertaking, and then that will be followed closely by the ICC T20 World Cup. Teachers in Guyana continue with their protest exercise over increases in salaries and proposals that they would have laid out previously when it came to increases and other benefits. Yes. Well, that's most of what we've been seeing. Crime and violence continue to plague the region, and internationally, Trump and Biden they've both agreed to participate in two presidential debates over there ahead of the November general and local elections, as well as the vice presidents have also agreed to some level of a debate as well. The war continues in Ukraine and Russia, and the Gaza and Israel clashes are continuing. Back, yes. So this morning we're going to take a look at, and you can also share your thoughts on those two topics and anything that's of major interest to you. But this morning we're going to take a look at a bit of sports, which has been in the news for quite some time. St. Kitts and Nevis did not bid for games for the upcoming T20 World Cup. We are also making and lobbying for official ICC T20 warm-up games, which we found out this week will not be having here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Instead, they'll be played in the United States as well as in Trinidad and Tobago at the Brian Lara Academy and the Queen's Park Oval down there. So the 17 games will be played amongst the 17 teams. So what more can we do to uplift the standard of our sporting infrastructure here in the Federation as we continue to witness some of our athletes, especially those young athletes, continue to make a name for themselves and put the federation on the map. We continue to talk about crime and violence, but are we providing the platform where the young people can be totally engaged and then engage and ply a trade, specifically develop their skill set to become the next best and ensure that St. Kitts and Nevis continues to fly the flag regionally and internationally. When we look across the region, we see a number of disciplines continue, especially in Jamaica, where we know they're basically the sprint capital of the Caribbean region, the athletics capital of the Caribbean region. We talk about cricketing development. We have here the young Louis brothers continue to make a name for themselves. So how do we seek to maintain our infrastructure? Is it a case that we need to allocate more funding or more allocations within the budget to provide infrastructure and the necessary support to the young athletes to develop their skill set? So that's one. And two, we heard the IMF sent out their press statement on the latest round of reviews that they would have done for St. Kitts and Nevis. This was dated, so they sent this out earlier this week, and it was on May 2nd. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, concluded Article 4 consultation with St. Kitts and Nevis and endorsed the staff appraisal without a meeting on a lapse of time basis. Despite a continued strong tourism performance, growth fell to 3.4% in 2023 from 8.8% in 2022 due to delays in public and private sector investment projects. Higher food and oil prices and shipping costs pushed average inflation to 3.6%, which subdued at the end of 2023. The current account deficit narrowed to 5.4% of GDP in 2023 from 10.9% in 2022, supported by the robust tourism recovery. Pandemic support is being phased out from 3.5% of GDP in 2022 to 1.1% of GDP in 2023, and CBI revenues have remained solid at 22% of GDP in 2023. As a result, the fiscal position moved to a surplus of 1% of GDP in 2023, allowing gross debt to fall to 54% of GDP. CBI revenue is expected to face a gradual decline to 10% of GDP in 2028, which will raise fiscal deficit over time to 3.9% of GDP. Public debt will, though, remain below 60% of GDP. The systemic bank has high NPLs, low capital, and a large foreign investment portfolio funded by public sector deposits. That's just an excerpt from what the IMF sent out earlier this week, much of which we already would have gotten some level of understanding in the first report that they sent out back in January and March. So yes, we are taking a look at sports, and we hopefully will be joined in the second half of the program by the representative from the Rams Village Superstars Club, as they are in the process of raising funds to represent the federation at the upcoming Caribbean Club Shield tournament. So all of this fits into the topic of developing our young people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Do we need to allocate more resources to building the capacity of the young athletes, building our infrastructure, maintaining our infrastructure? We do know that currently the Kim Collins Stadium is under repairs, and Warner Park is also under some level of, will be going under some level of repairs based on an indication from the minister recently. So yes, so that's where we will be. That's what we will be taking a look at in the first half of the program, as we continue with Inside the News, where we tend to go beyond politics here, go beyond the headlines, to get you to understand how every decision and issues are impacting you here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, phone lines are open and we can begin that discussion right now. And we have our first caller for the morning. Caller, good morning.
Greetings, my brother.
Greetings.
Why you take up on the table? The bank thing hour.
Okay, so we taking a look at sporting infrastructure. What more can we do in order to develop the young people? Do we need to allocate more funding to the Ministry of Sports for developing our infrastructure here in St. Kitts and Nevis? Do we need to take a bit more from the citizenship by investment, maybe 1 or 2%, to allocate it towards sports? We're also talking about the bank, and I just read a little statement from the IMF.
The IMF. What the IMF say?
Well, they reiterated what they've been saying all the time, that inflation was 3.6, rose to 3.6% last year. The GDP fell to 3 something%. Basically, much of what we would have indicated earlier this year.
Okay. Well, let me start with the IMF. The IMF and the World Bank, they're scammers. They don't care about suffering people, the masses of the earth. We're suffering. They don't care about that. They are just, they are part of the system that keeps up a system like the class system. Yeah? Where the class system is dictated by economics, whereby you have the upper class who have everything overflowing, you have the middle class, so, and you have the lower class. And it's all dictated by economics. And World Bank and the IMF, they know this. They know what goes on in the earth. Not just St. Kitts and Nevis region and Africa, the whole globe. They know what's going on. And they are using economics to dehumanize people. When you are in the lower class, like it is all over the earth, you are a nobody. You get treated like, I don't even want to use that word on here, but the other sound is defecate. In terms of the first issue there, what you talk about?
Sports?
I just talk about it. Sports. No, the bank. Let me step on
the bank, yes.
Me not touch sports. The same thing. We have this issue here amongst us in the Federation where they say Republic Bank. What they say the bank do? The bank make a mistake and now we want tax the people and free. Is the bank fault they say, isn't it?
Well, based on the statement that we saw from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and it supports a statement that our sources were telling us, is that it's a system issue, a changeover sort of issue that did not necessarily debit or take out the monies when they were supposed to be taken out. So they were left on the account, and the bank just decided to take all of it at once now.
I see. You see another example of the economic system. Another example right under our nose. I mean, is why they should make a decision like that? Where that decision? Who that? What here? We always say no system is in a vacuum. System is dictated by the decisions of people. People who are supposed to be human beings. And in lots of cases, like in this one, we see that decision by certain human beings ought not to be. So how they get in them kind of position there to make them decision? Wrong faces in right places.
But
it is you.
But Carla, let me ask you a question though.
Yes.
let's say you're a business person, right?
Yes.
And oh shoot, yeah, you're a business person, and
Economics. Yeah.
you are in you went and you got a new point of sale machine, or you're now opening, you're now learning to use the computer, but
Yes.
you why in using the computer you've recognized that you run into issues in terms of putting the information into the computer, right?
Yes.
But your business is still continuing, right? And then you're writing everything down on paper, and then all of a sudden you realize, no, this is too much money, is outstanding. When you finish
Yes.
inputting all that information in the computer, what would you
Yes.
do in that case? Would you go after everyone at once, or would you decide, hey, I'm just going to gradually start to deduct from these people until I get all of what is outstanding?
I take the latter. I make the choice of the latter. Because it is me who's supposed to be on top of things. My business, it is my business. So, therefore, if any irresponsible move from me, why should I tax others? Okay, that happened, all right. I have monies out there. I need my monies, of course. It's all part of what the business is all about. But I'm going to go through it the proper way, the right way. There's a right and a wrong way of doing things. These systems that we're seeing around us, as we just talked about World Bank and IMF, and hey, biggest robbers. When we talk about crime, my brother. So look, this matter here with the bank locally, yeah, I mean, it's a wrong move, and people ought not to tolerate such moves. Rebel, yeah. Especially, we use that word, but you see, people them who deal with bank, they know the rebellious guy. Cause watch here, you see, with all them monies there and all them bank thing there, Preston, I would like to know how much people from the low class have money in that bank, are doing business with that bank. How much people from the low class? Because we now leave the low class, Bridget. The masses of the people, who them see as nobody, because your economic... See, recently we make a sound say, we need to put pregnancy on hold. Yeah, and deal with the crisis that we have with the crime. And somebody add to it and say, yeah, they agree, but it's just certain woman in certain... When the person says certain woman, me know he mean McKnight and Newtown and certain areas. Them woman, they no food, them free. But the rest people, them woman, in frigate down out in one high hill, them for breed. No!
Okay.
Because if you take the woman out of McKnight or Newtown in some ghetto area, whatever, the junkyard, and give her the economic status what the woman have in frigate there, she are good to go. It's all about economics. People is people. And the system do not want to recognize that. And you see, we, who was taken away from a continent and packed as human cargo and still scattered and dispersed every day, we should be ashamed of ourselves, keeping up this thing named class system, which is dictated by economics. We should be ashamed. Give thanks to the time. Blessed Lord.
All right, thanks, caller. And we go back to the phone lines in here from this caller. Okay, we did not get that caller. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm well, and how are you?
Good. Let me see if you can get my volume up a little bit here. Yeah, I'm taking a little different shift to the previous caller, which, everything he said here is in support of. I want to get more local. And my reason for calling is that where we can really improve, as I think your topic today is, where we can get sports in general improved, especially by the younger folks. One of the things I'd like to suggest is that the government should give a little bit more incentives for associations who have a general holistic program for development of the sports within the schools and within the community. Why I say that? For an example, let's take an example of FIFA. FIFA is doing quite a lot, but there's a number of other associations that do not even have an approved holistic program. I believe that is something that is lacking. And to encourage that, the government should give incentives before they can give them any assistance financially. They have to prove that they're doing some recruitment in the association to bring young people to be members and participation in their program. By so doing, I'm saying, for an example, you can take any sporting organization and you can say, listen, you have a sporting organization that is controlled by a head office or a regional office or whatever. Get an approved program for development of your youngsters. Go to your organization or you create one whereby you say, look, this is a program that we have in place. We expect that we should be able to garner so many people from schools. We could go to the collaboration with the Ministry of Sports, with the Ministry of Education, and you have a collaboration approved program developed in after-school program or throughout the school program. Just like football might do it or athletics might do it. Therefore, you'll be garnering more youngsters. Get them off the street, get them active, and get them involved in sports development at a young age. And I'll say from primary school, or even preschool, for that matter. You have programs set up. Like this happens all over the world. Where you have a nice program put together, and they show you the benefits, and you get certified people, certified coaches, to put those courses on, and the government will give incentives. If you don't put on the courses, those kind of programs, you don't get no incentive. I believe that is one of the first steps we need to do. By so doing, they come to the public, they have meetings, town hall meetings, they go to the schools, they go in the communities, and they say, look, this is our program we have. We like to do recruitment, set up small groups in the different communities.
Okay, but I want to ask, right, Carl, as you said, as you pointed to that this is what the government should do. Do you also believe that the sporting associations themselves should also be the ones lobbying the government? You know, whether it be tennis, table tennis, basketball, these guys come together to say, listen, we want to assist you, one, in the crime fighting initiative, for example. And we as sporting organizations and leaders of sporting organizations, you know, we come with a plan to assist you in getting into the communities to be able to tackle the ills and getting more, not just the young people, but to getting the communities to come out and also supporting the various disciplines, whether it be at inter-village table tennis competition or you know, that sort of initiative.
Yes. Well, like I said from the beginning, it's a collaboration, right? Whereby the association in the respective disciplines, they will show that they are putting something together by way of, because they don't own the facilities. They have access to the people. So what I'm saying is that they will be showing now, look, we have a program. We want to go to East Zone schools, primary schools level, Central Zone, primary school level, and West Zones. We want to get your permission, sir, whereby we can have our program, having looked at it, having got it approved through the different regional or international organizations, to show that this is a workable program. We have it approved. We have at least 2 or 3 respective coaches. We're working in collaboration with your coaches in the Ministry of Sports, and we would like to have a session or 2 after school program, in the school program, whatever. So they start mobilizing, they start sensitizing, they start educating and informing the community and the schools, which you don't hear much of in certain sports.
You see, the reason why I ask that is because oftentimes we as people, and you yourself would probably have heard this on the road itself, that, you know, it's the government's responsibility to be able to do certain things.
Right? That's right, it's a collaboration, yes.
Right, and we keep throwing the decision and the buck back to the governments. But at what point do we as people, for example, we have people like the Louis brothers who were successful during the recent 4-day competition. We had a couple of representatives the young people at the Carifta swimming games. Then we saw the success of the athletes at the Carifta junior track and field games, right?
Yes.
At what point do we as the community, as the business sector, come out to say, okay, I want to take these young people under my wings. I'm going to put, just saying, maybe $1,000 for this person to develop their education mindset, to develop their skill set, so that we can see whether or not they'll be the next quote unquote, and again, just an example, Usain Bolt, Shelly and Fraser Price, the next Brian Lara, your next Michael Phelps, Katie Ledecky, right? These athletes, at what point does that section of society jump in to, one, build out our infrastructure, private-public partnership, and also to assist our athletes?
Well, if I could jump in here and say, look, all that is a plus. I believe the initial responsibility is on the respective sporting organization. They are the driving force for the respective sports, right? They're the ones supposed to be going out there and sensitizing the public and telling them how good the sport is, what benefits you're getting from your sport. And by doing so, you'll be encouraging sponsors, you'll be encouraging the government. You have a meeting with the government, you have collaboration, and you show them, look, this is my plan. I have a 3-year plan, a 2-year plan, or whatever it is, short-term, medium, long-term plan. We're expecting that if we get into these schools, we'll hopefully get so many kids that's involved. But the kids must get exposure at a younger age. That is the key. The kids must get exposure on organized sports, supervised sports. That is where the individual organizations, I believe, their responsibilities are. If they can't organize themselves, how you going to get youngsters coming into play? And by so doing, now the government give an incentive. And the sponsors then will come in and say, oh yeah, you get an incentive. So we are all hands on deck. But if the association is a lame duck and they're only sponsoring the guys who know it already, and only putting a small band-aid on a big sore, it don't work. You have to start at a junior level. You must be able to give the youngsters there the opportunity for them to choose, and you look at their aptitude, you look at their skill set to see exactly where their strengths are, what they prefer. They prefer football, they prefer track and field, they prefer basketball, they prefer cricket, whatever it is. But if you don't have a program, a holistic program, and I emphasize that, a holistic program must be generated from the respective associations.
And
I believe that is something that needs serious consideration, and I'm willing to contribute. I'm willing to contribute to that because it has worked for me overseas, and it could work here. And that's what I would leave with you, sir.
Okay. Thanks, caller.
You know?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that caller is sharing that a holistic plan is needed in terms of developing our next generation of athletes and also to maintain our sporting infrastructure. At this point, we'll quickly acknowledge our partners, TDC, Carib Brewery, and then we'll come right back with more inside the news here on WINNFM.
People make the world go round.
TDC Financial Services, we're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services, we are strong. TDC Financial Services, this is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go round.
And we are back here on Inside the News. I'm German Abel sitting in today. And we are taking a look at sports, a bit of business for this first half of the program. And I want to play a quick clip. It's okay. Let me take one more caller before I play this clip from the Minister of Sport. Caller, okay. We missed that caller. Caller, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you and greetings in Jesus' name, the only Savior of sinners from their sin and from hell, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, what I would like to say is that, with all due respect, okay, let me ask you a question. I don't know if I asked you before, but let me ask you a question. This bank issue with Republic Bank, now I believe that the fault is, from what I've heard, I believe the fault is on the bank, and people should not be inconvenienced because of someone else carelessness or error. But let me ask a question. These charges, are they just related to like debit card and credit card issues, or are they related to other charges as well that has been deducted from out the customer's account?
Okay, so let me read the statement from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to put it into context. Because from my understanding, it seems to be the bank just took what they took what was the charges that they needed to deduct that were supposed to have been deducted. So let me read quickly an excerpt from what the central bank would have issued.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I'm pulling it up. Okay. As we understand the situation, the affected customers received value, but the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is aware that on Monday, the 29th of April, the Republic Bank Limited customers' accounts as a result, I guess they meant debited, as a result of delayed e-commerce and point-of-sale transactions. As we understand the situation, the affected customers received value, but the corresponding debits were not posted. We are informed that these transactions date as far back as 2022, when the system was converted following Republic Bank's acquisition of the operations of Scotiabank. We are advised that about 12,112 Republic Bank customers across 5 countries in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union and the listed countries have been adversely impacted by the untimely situation. The affected customers include staff at ECCB.
Yes, so you see, like point of sale and that sort of stuff, that's had to do with like debit and credit card.
Debit and credit cards and other transactions, yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering like if you would have like include like service charge for ATM usage and going to the bank to withdraw money and that sort of stuff. It would have if you would have also included service charge for those services as well.
The bank also went on to give full details, but in the space for time purposes, I wouldn't go through the full statement because we're gonna have about 20 minutes left, 15 to 20 minutes left on the program. Okay.
Secondly, I would like to say that the issue of class issue has been brought up. Okay, class issue is a very broad thing because the definition of class is people who share a similar trait. And so therefore, because class definition is people who share a similar trait of whatever, class is a natural thing. For example, everybody don't have the same IQ. Everybody don't have the same strength. Everybody don't have the same talent. We are not all endowed with the same talent. Everybody is not endowed with the same height, stature, that sort of stuff. We differ in so many ways. But there are so many different traits in the human race that are shared by certain people only. And those people who share a particular trait, they are divided into that class. So class is not just something economic. Class is something natural that God made and endowed us all with to help each other for his glory. So nothing evil in having classes. It's not evil, it's natural. But instead of we using class for the good of human being, and above all is to the glory of Jesus Christ. We because of sin, is misusing the class issue to destroy each other. And so the problem is not class, the problem is the human heart. And I would like to say that all of our economic, political, crime, and so on problems that we are having, like I say, it's not class, it is because of our disobedience to the Word of God. And only the Word of God has all of the solutions and answers to all of the problems and confusion we are facing in all of the areas of life. And just to remind people, if you die without Christ, you will end up in hell for all eternity. Okay, thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
Okay, so as I was saying earlier, the Minister of Sport, Samuel Duggins, he spoke a bit recently. As I said, St. Kitts and Nevis did not necessarily bid for games in the upcoming T20 World Cup. We were hoping to get games as well, warm-up games here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But this week we saw 4 teams arrive in St. Kitts and Nevis to call St. Kitts and Nevis their training base for the 10 days that they were going to be here. So we got caught up with the sports minister to talk about the teams being here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but we spoke to him prior to the announcement of the venues for the T20 warm-up games, so we could not ask him about that. But he spoke to that and why St. Kitts and Nevis did not bid for games, and some of it had to do with government priorities. And I'll play a bit of that for you right now.
Yes, so earlier this year I indicated that our intent is to have the practice matches for the teams that will be vying for the World Cup. And now the teams are here, the practice matches are about to begin, and I think the teams are all excited being on island. And so are the media houses that travel with the team. And so we plan to utilize this moment for our own local development as well, because first we recognize we have not been a strong cricketing nation over the years, but what we do have is excellent facilities that could be utilized to develop our local talent and carry them on. And so even like a team like Canada, which will be utilizing some of our local players in a nice friendly match, these are the steps that we are taking. We are also looking at strengthening support with the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots on the ground, and we're going to be doing some magnificent work over the next few months with the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, and you'll hear a lot more about that. And we have just signed on with one of the oldest and most prestigious cricket counties out in the UK, and you're going to hear a lot more of our partnership with that county and what we are doing in cricket development. But all in all, our approach is comprehensive development, and we are now launching the primary school cricket program, the high school cricket program. We are strengthening our youth academy, the partnership with the UK Cricket County, partnership with the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, which extends into India, and you're going to hear a lot more about that. And all in all, it's about top-tier development from the ground up for cricket.
When we talk about sports development, let's first look at Warner Park. Warner Park has been a challenge. We know we did not bid for games because of the state of Warner Park. Correct. Development, where are we with that as we go forward?
Yes, so the whole idea is, if we look at the time that we are in presently, we had to prioritize. We were in a state where we met a deplorable water situation. Our people in many areas did not have water. We had to invest in that. We met failing electrical infrastructure. We saw load shedding for months and months and months. We had to invest in that. The Bastia High School, which had been promised for ever so long, has not been developed. We had to invest in that. You had a hospital that was falling apart and the healthcare program that we met, and we had to invest in that. And so when we looked at the gamut of stuff that we had to invest in, we recognized that the World Cup at the time would not represent a best use of the funds in the development for this particular point in time. It's not that we didn't want the World Cup. Of course we wanted the World Cup. But then, do you prioritize the World Cup over a brand new hospital? Do you prioritize it over a brand new Bastia High School? Do you prioritize it over water? Do you prioritize it over electricity? No. And so what we're doing now is taking our time and developing this facility. So this year we're going to replace a Jumbotron which is out of date for our past couple of years, and there's a new Jumbotron that will be installed. We're going to do some work on the infrastructure of Warner Park, and we also just did some work in developing the Connery Cricket Stadium, adding new bathroom facilities, adding bathroom facilities which we never had actually. And there are a number of things that we're doing to develop Warner Park, but we're taking it bit by bit and bit by bit. When we look at other countries, St. Vincent has spent over $30 million upgrading the facilities by their own account. Barbados has spent over 50 by their own account. St. Lucia over 40 million by their own account. Would we take up $40 million ahead of a hospital, ahead of a school? It was something that we had to really think hard about. And we are here now developing cricket from the ground up. And I believe we have a very comprehensive plan on the way.
People make the world go round.
And we are back, and we go straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Okay, we lost that caller there. So yes, you heard a bit there, a little excerpt from the minister speaking on his plans for Warner Park, Connery, and why St. Kitts and Nevis did not necessarily putting a bid for the cricket World Cup. We go back to the phone lines. Carter, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Abel.
Morning, yes it is.
Good morning, is this Mr. Abel?
Yes it is.
Okay, how are you?
Well, currently cold, but I'm good.
Okay, as a former banker, I worked for Scotiabank for 29 and a quarter years. So whenever I hear anything about banking, having worked in various departments, I tend to become very concerned. I heard the information recently about what happened to Republic Bank and its customers, namely the credit card customers. The first thing customers really are supposed to do with all of their business with banking is to reconcile their accounts on a daily basis. Nobody is talking about that. You have to reconcile your accounts. Every deposit that you make, every withdrawal that you make, you double check the history on the account and check your balance. You cannot go wrong doing that as a systematic function on a daily basis.
Correct.
Mr. Abel, I live in that world. Yes, I know I was a banker, and so I understand the rudiments of banking. We have to have that conversation with the public, step number one. Because if people don't do these things, when problems arise, it creates panic and a frenzy as what is taking place right now. Now, in my opinion, the bank should have come out, somebody should have come out on the radio, on television, and explain to people what really has happened to calm their nerves. It's not just good enough, in my opinion. Everything I'm telling you is from my standpoint. To just say, oh, the central bank is going to do an audit. You know, when people hear those sorts of terminology, it tends to give the impression, oh my, something might be going wrong here. We already know that there's a challenge with the situation with them debiting the accounts now for the errors. Yes, there's no foolproof system. We understand that. The changeover was the year before last. I think it was February. I pay close attention. Not because I'm no longer in the banking system directly. Indirectly, I'm still there because I do business. So 2 years now, they've had the changeover. Now, whatever system flaw that developed, and they didn't realize it, like we said to us, it's human. And the situation now is that they're not going to just debit the accounts in a wholesale manner, because that is going to put people at a variance. The monies are not there, but if people are reconciling their accounts, they will recognize that they use their cards. The monies would have been paid to the business houses, let's say Rams, Rituals, wherever you would have used the card, but the monies were not actually debited from your account. It's a two-way street, you know, debit and credit. That's what banking is all about, debit and credit. You follow me closely, Mr. Abel? Are you following me?
I'm following you.
Okay, so if the credit was given to the merchants for the business that, you know, you had done with them, and your account was not debited, do not think for a moment that you're getting away. Because it's a system, and that error will be detected somewhere along the line, as is the case now. Never mind, it would have been 2 years. And the money in the banks does not belong to the bank. The money belongs to depositors. Follow me. The monies in the banks belong to depositors. All the monies that the banks are lending to customers belong to depositors. When the depositors come back to the bank and say, look, I gave you $1 million to hold for me. I'm talking in layman terms now. When I give you $1 million to hold for me in safekeeping and I come back for it, whether it's a month later, 2 months, 10 years, I don't want any excuses. Give it back to me because I gave it to you in a wholesale fashion. So banks make their money from lending, profits. That is what it's all about. And people have to remember this. The money does not belong to the bank. And that is why sometimes when people wish to withdraw substantial amounts, there is a clause, a provision in the banking where the bank could take a few days to give you the money because they have to go and assess whatever. Not that it necessarily happens because, banks are making money and they could just say, okay, you're coming to me for $1 million, in terms of your savings, I can just cut you a check. I'm not saying that's a decision the bank can make on the spur of the moment, but they have provisions where, depending on the amounts you wish to withdraw, they reserve the right to get time to give it to you. People don't pay attention to these things, but you see, when you work in the system and you understand the documentation, you're governed accordingly.
Well,
so, Mr. Abel, it's important for people to really reconcile their accounts on a daily basis. I believe in hardcore systems. It's important because that's where the devil lies, right in the details. Because you see what's happening now?
Yes.
The bank might have to turn around and give interest-free loans to people who owe them this money because at the end of the day, they use the card.
Yes.
And remember, the credit card speaks for itself. It's credit. The money doesn't belong to us. That's a loan in itself right there, revolving facility. Follow me closely. That's why the interest rate is much higher than a normal loan. And it keeps you in that chokehold, so to speak, because you're indebted all the time. It's revolving. That is where banks make a lot of money, the credit cards. They make much more money on the credit cards than a normal loan. Because remember, that loan is fixed. The interest rate is already fixed.
Yeah.
And the amount they're going to make fixed as well. You understand? But with a credit card, you're using it daily. You're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. So the bank is making a whole lot of money because every mid-month, they debit the account for interest. Pay attention. And I recently did a post that said that the interest that the bank collects on the credit card is more than the minimum payment. People have to pay attention. So minimum payments keep you in a real chokehold. Follow me closely. You're up to your neck all the time. Your balances don't really move. That is why it's important to pay more than the minimum, because in excess of the minimum payment that the bank requires you to pay goes towards the principal that you borrowed. And you have access to more monies against it revolves. It's a strategy with the credit card. I understand it very well because, like I said, I work in the system a long time, but people need to pay attention. People need to ask questions. When this thing happened with the bank, this recent situation, simple. Go into the bank and get an understanding of what really has taken place instead of being out here panicking and saying all sorts of things. The bank now has a responsibility to maybe give loans to those persons interest-free because it's not the fault of the customers. But, these monies really belong to depositors. Yes, it's an error. The bank can't go and absorb those costs because the truth is the monies did not leave the customers' accounts. If they were reconciling their accounts, they would have recognized it, and it has to do with honesty. If you recognize that you're using your card and the monies for some reason didn't come off, whether on one occasion or several occasions, the customers had a fiduciary duty to go into the bank and say something. Do not think for a moment, oh, I'm getting away. I'm going to scheme the bank in this respect because it will catch up with you, and that is what's happening right now. So I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from with this, but this is what it's all about. And it's one thing to say the central bank is doing an audit and people are going to come on and use their high-tech language and the ordinary man can't understand. I don't speak like that. I want the ordinary people to understand what this is all about because for the most part, they're the ones who would be affected. They come to get the credit card so they could travel and come back, and then they don't pay attention. They'll be indebted for a long time until they're going to maybe do a consolidation to have a fixed loan. Those things take place as well. After a while, when you're using the credit card and you realize your balance is not moving because you're busy paying minimum payments, you're not going anywhere in a hurry. Bank's winning. You're losing. It's business.
Caller, I'll put it this way, right? you you have literally explained that in the layman terms. I mean, my accounting knowledge, I understood the situation when I reached out to my banking source before I came on to touch the topic. That's why I didn't touch it last week. My banking source explained it in the same way that you did, right? And just as you say, you cannot run from the fact that it was already you already did the transaction. My source actually explained it in that way, right? The mere fact that and the ECCB's statement said it. It was a case that you already got the service, you paid for it. It's just that the bank did not deduct it from your account, and no matter how
Simple
you
as
try
that.
to run, it
But
was
remember, whenever you tell people about taking money from their account, even when you have the right to do so, they don't want to hear that. If it's not instant, it's going to be a challenge later. So sooner is better than later, if you follow me. You go to a business place and you process a transaction, try and ensure it comes off of the account, whether the next day or just a couple days, because money keeps moving. That $20 that you had in the account and 10 belong to that merchant, you're not reconciling, you're not thinking, or even if you're thinking, for some reason you're being deceitful, you go and you take that $20 from the account on 19 or 18, you've left $2 on the account. When that business house now sends them the information to the bank to get their $20, the money is not there. They might put the account in overdraft. That entails fees again. Because whenever you overdraw your credit card account, that could be $87.01. That's money. Imagine you're not saving $50, but yet you have a debit of $87, and you still have to put monies on the account to keep it active. So it's a holistic approach. People need to really, as I would say, get with the program and understand what is going on with banking. I understand it very well.
And I think you did us, you did me, I think you did WINNFM, you did the media in St. Kitts and Nevis a really good justice this morning, because I don't think I could have explained it any better and simpler than how you did that, because we've not been hearing much from the bankers' side of things. As you rightly said, the ECCB has been speaking in its technical language in that statement that they issued there. So I think people got a better understanding now of what actually transpired, because we've been hearing the complaints. Like I said, I understood what this meant, but I don't think I could have related simpler than how you did just now.
Mr. Abel, I told you I work in the bank a long time. What you're not getting from the bank, I understand it very well in terms of communication. Like I said to you, I worked there for a long time, so the non-communication is not a surprise to me.
So I want to ask you a question, though. Do you believe that the quietness coming out of Republic Bank, and it's not just those in St. Kitts and Nevis, but I've found this out, and based on stories that I've been reading, it's difficult to get information out.
It's throughout the OECS, you know. Because
Right.
remember, Scotiabank closed down its operations throughout the OECS, not the entire West Indies.
Yeah, but
Scotiabank is still in Barbados.
Yeah, but what I'm
still
saying
in Jamaica.
is, what I've found is that communication coming out of the financial institutions, especially Republic Bank across the region, is something that's not necessarily the best. It's an area that they have to work on. But what I want to ask you, though, is...
Mr. Abel, I'm going to back you up a minute. Remember, when the bank determines policy, guidelines, and communication, it is not just limited to St. Kitts, it's across the board.
Yes.
That is something the public really... You see, knowledge is power. I keep talking about it. People get offended when I say these things. But it's the truth. Knowledge is power. So if St. Kitts is not talking, do not expect Anguilla to be talking. Do not expect St. Lucia to be talking. Everything is being done in unison. You follow me?
But do you
Keep your mouth
believe,
shut.
right? And
Speak when you're spoken to, answer when you're called.
Okay, just quickly, because I have to break for news, but I want to ask you this question quickly, though. As a former banker, do you believe that the reason we're not hearing much, and it's not just from Republic Bank, right? I found this with some other financial institutions as well. Is it that they're not communicating because there's this fright of the run on the bank?
That could be one of the reasons. You know, we had a run on banks many, many years ago. I don't know if you were living in St. Kitts at that time. But many years ago, when I worked in the banking system, there was a run on the bank for a particular matter, and the bank had to arrest the situation quickly. Don't forget, we had the Bank of Commerce with its challenges, and people had to be lining up for $50. Those things are still very much on people's minds. There were some people who had never, ever recovered.
Okay. Well,
you see, so you have to understand that there are a lot of things that they take into consideration. So banks will not get up and just start. Say I will pick up the phone and call you and explaining things to you. Banks wouldn't operate like that, and I understand it because I've worked in there a long time. So I've seen the modus operandi. And you made a valid point. You run on the banks and stuff. You would hear stories about money's gone missing in banks, and yet the public, just out there saying all manner of things, and nobody really knows the truth. But the bankers themselves. As I said to you, working it a long time. I'm not spilling any bean. I'm just telling you this is what it's all about. People have to step up to the plate now and, be more proactive. And, whenever, they're in doubt, shout, ask a question. When I was a loan officer, I'd seen many customers come to me to do loans. They've had loans in the past, and they don't have a clue. How could that be? You're borrowing the bank's money, you're signing promissory notes, which means that you're tied up for whether 2 years down to 30 years for a mortgage, and you don't have basic understanding of banking. That's crazy. Because the officer really should explain to you in detail what it's all about. But you have to understand banks are in the hustle for making money, profits, getting you in, getting you out. You sign the document, you get the money in your account, you're feeling good, but you don't have an understanding. Knowledge is power. You need to understand what you're tying up yourself with. That is exactly what it's all about. It's nothing to do with whether you work for the central bank or otherwise, because if a central banker comes to the bank for a loan, you have to explain to him or her what the deal is as well, as clear and concise as possible. It's nothing to do with brilliance of a degree or degrees. You have to explain to people. And I keep saying, experience is the best teacher, Mr. Abel. It's almost 30 years I've spent in there, so I'm armed with a lot of knowledge because I worked in various departments of the bank to perfection. I had to. The bank didn't give me a pass and a break. You see? So when I speak this way, I speak from conviction. No holds barred, no water in my mouth. That's not the type of person I am. I'm going to tell you the truth. So people have to understand what is happening. The bank, I believe, would probably make some sort of decision now to maybe grant some interest-free loans, or something, but they're going to have to arrest the situation. But people have to bear in mind the money does not belong to the bank. It belongs to depositors, and they are supposed to do everything within their power to protect depositors' interest. Because remember, if depositors withdraw their monies in droves, it affects lending.
Yes.
It affects the overall operation of the bank. So that is why banks are not willing to come out and just spill the bean. So I'm just talking in general terms. Reconcile your accounts on a daily basis. That's the best thing for customers to do going forward in every aspect. You recognize something appears to be wrong, put your clothes on, go into the bank and ask a question. The old adage, fools ask questions to be made wise, even though we said there's no foolish question. That's their job. They're supposed to explain to you what is really taking place. You have to have time to explain to the customers what's going on.
Okay.
Have a good day.
All right, thanks, caller. Well, that caller explained it perfectly. She broke it down for us. And the bottom line is reconcile. Look at your statement, ensure that it matches every transaction that you did. And one of the questions that came to mind when this whole situation started, and that was our final call for the first half of the program, by the way, because we're slightly over the time and we have to break for the news. But one of the things that came to mind for me when I first heard this issue before I reached out to my source was whether or not people were cross-referencing whether or not the transactions were actually going through and deductions were being made. But nevertheless, I have to break at this point in time to bring you the midday news. Kevin Brown is on the news desk today, and the news is here, so I have to break right now and join, and I'll be back right after this.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Maybe it's the way.
You found the sound. 98.9 Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
when it comes to the important things in life: your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider. Only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured. Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
With the WINNFM Midday News, I am Kevon Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Our top stories. St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister leads delegation to United Nations Conference on Small Island Developing States.
St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister says Development Bank student loan program crippled due to debt.
Guyana sounds alarm concerning what authorities call continued aggression by Venezuela. Kenyan lawyers move to block the country's deployment of police to Haiti. Internationally, Colombia protesters refute New York City's no injuries claim. Now the details. St. Kitts and Nevis will be represented at the United Nations Small Island Developing State Conference in Antigua later this month at the highest level. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew will lead the delegation at the May 27th to 30th meeting, including Minister of Sustainable Development, the Honorable Dr. Joel Clark. The conference, themed Charting the Course Towards Resilient Prosperity, will assess countries' progress towards achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The agenda seeks to end poverty and hunger, realize human rights, achieve gender equality, and ensure the lasting protection of the planet and its natural resources. The 4th International Conference on Small Island Developing States, SIDS-4, convenes once every 10 years, with the previous conference, SIDS-3, held in 2014 in Samoa. Under the overarching theme, SIDS-4 aims to evaluate small island developing states' capacity to attain sustainable development, focusing on the 2030 Agenda and its sustainable development goals. The conference will formulate an intergovernmental, action-oriented political document to foster resilience and prosperity in SIDS. Prime Minister Drew stated that the Federation anticipates the conference to facilitate collaboration to chart a course toward resilient prosperity. St. Kitts and Nevis is excited to host a national side event at the conference venue to discuss the intersectionality of health, human capital, and the climate crisis. Minister Clark, in a release from the government's information service, underlined the unique perspective that St. Kitts and Nevis brings to the table, aiming to leverage the visibility and collaborative support provided by the conference. The Federation eagerly anticipates sharing its nation's vision of the sustainable island state with key stakeholders and investors, fostering strategic partnerships. The Federation is prepared to join efforts to ensure the realization of the SIDS 4 outcome document, which will serve as the comprehensive plan of action for the next decade. Comprising 37 United Nations members and 20 associated members of regional commissions, SIDS face challenges such as climate change. These challenges, combined with high import-export costs, reliance on external markets, and limited natural resources, emphasize the need for tailored action for sustainable development.
It has been a challenge to fully roll out our student loan programs, small business programs, etc., said Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew, in a social media post. In particular, the Prime Minister said the student loan program is crippled due to the debt issue at the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis. Drew confirmed that the Cabinet approved $10 million to assist the program to aid the students. Dr. Drew highlighted another consequence of the Development Bank's debt. Quote, all financial institutions have refused to work with the bank. This can limit the bank's ability to recover, he said. The Development Bank is said to have a great debt of $333 million. Providing an excerpt from an ongoing financial audit, Drew shared that over $22 million is completely untraceable. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister confirmed that the former manager of the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis has brought a case against the bank, which the bank has countered. Quote, the court will address the issues. There is too much money unaccounted for and too many questions left unanswered to allow this to slide, the Prime Minister declared. According to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, the bank is working diligently to rectify the debt issues by utilizing innovative good governance practices and aggressive marketing strategies. He added that the Labour Party administration is determined to save the Development Bank.
In regional news, Guyana sounds alarm concerning what authorities call continued aggression by Venezuela. Kenyan lawyers move to block the country's deployment of police to Haiti. Those reports and more from Carib Update.
Guyana's Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo says he is sounding the alarm of what he called continued aggression by Venezuela, including the buildup of troops at the shared border. A video has been circulating on social media that shows Venezuelan troops building a bridge on Ankoko Island. Jagdeo reminded citizens that Ankoko Island forms part of the border between Guyana and Venezuela and is shared by both countries, but he said Venezuela has forcibly taken it over.
The relevant bodies have been written to, consistent with the Argyle Agreement and the provisional measures announced by the ICJ. We have notified all of the relevant partners, both of a multilateral and bilateral nature, about the continued attempts by Venezuela to build up a presence at our border in a threatening posture, and that it's inconsistent with what we agreed to, which is that we want to keep this region as a zone of peace. So we're very vigilant. We're very vigilant. We're watching the developments. We've been working with our allies on this matter. And our primary preoccupation is the retention of our territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Jagdeo noted both countries signed the Argyle Declaration last December, which stated, among other things, that the two countries will not threaten or use force against each other. Guyana's Vice President Bharat Jagdeo says his country will insist on reciprocity on matters of trade with other CARICOM countries. His statement at a press conference in Georgetown came in the wake of challenges faced by Demerara Distillers Limited in exporting its milk and water to Trinidad and Tobago. DDL Chairman Komal Samaru said 2 containers of milk exported from Guyana were rejected by Port of Spain, while 2 containers of bottled water were subject to what he called extreme scrutiny. Trinidadian authorities said the problem was because of what they call a misunderstanding, while insisting that the country has requirements, particularly for first-time imports. The holdup was apparently because of Trinidad's phytosanitary requirements, which are quarantine and biosecurity measures implemented by countries to help safeguard against the spread of pests or diseases that may be in agricultural products. Still, Jagdeo said Guyana maintains that such phytosanitary restrictions should not hinder intra-regional trade. This is particularly important since both Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana subscribe to free trade provisions under the CARICOM Single Market and Economy Arrangement. While expressing concern about the development, Jagdeo said Georgetown was not looking for a fight with Port of Spain. The ruling People's Progressive Party is, for now, staying mum on the latest legal troubles of executive member Nigel Dharamlal. The powerful politician has been accused of sexual assault for the second time in less than a year, following his resignation last July over separate allegations. Dharamlal was on Tuesday released on $500,000 bail after he had spent hours being interviewed by police on an accusation that he had raped Sarah Hack, a 28-year-old former employee of his ministry, 3 years ago. But the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party Civic, Bharat Jagdeo, is refusing public comment on the issue for now, and the party is not planning to move against him anytime soon. Jagdeo said the police investigation must be completed without any interference. Jagdeo said the allegations are before what he called a competent authority, and he wouldn't speculate on any party discussion that may include Dharamlal. Kenyan lawyers have moved to block the country's planned deployment of police to Haiti, a court filing showed, days before officers are expected to arrive in the Caribbean nation to tackle spiraling violence there. The High Court on Friday ordered the lawsuit be served to top government officials and that the case be heard on June 12. Responding to Haiti's appeal for assistance, Kenya offered last July to send 1,000 officers to Haiti to help tackle a worsening security crisis where escalating gang control has plunged millions into a humanitarian crisis. Incumbent Dominican Republic president appears to be set for a first-round victory in Sunday's presidential elections. Luis Abinera, the leader of the Modern Revolutionary Party, garnered 60% of voter intention in an early May Gallup RCC media poll, a tally that puts him well ahead of his closest rival, three-time former president Leonel Fernandez. If no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote, a second round will be held on June 30. The stakes are high for the Dominican Republic as the Caribbean nation wrestles with an exploding humanitarian crisis on its doorstep in Haiti, still festering inequality and unattainable levels of crime and corruption. The Kingdom of Lesotho is seeking support from the Bahamas for their representative's candidacy to be the next Commonwealth Secretary General. Joshua Fofo Setipa, Lesotho's former Minister of Trade and Industry, is one of two candidates from Africa seeking to lead the Commonwealth. He has been touring Commonwealth member states over the last few weeks, seeking to drum up support for his candidacy over Ghana's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Shirley Oyoko Botchwey. Botchwey already has the support of Antigua and Barbuda and a few other CARICOM member states who are part of the Commonwealth. Elections for the post of Secretary General will be held during the 27th meeting of Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa from 21 to 26 October 2024. Police in Grenada believe the motive for the recent increase in gun-related killings is drug-related. Chief Police Investigator Superintendent Issa Pierre says intelligence suggests that the incidents were not random acts, most having a connection to organized crime. From May 1 to 12, 3 men lost their lives to gun violence, while several others sustained injuries in acts reportedly involving masked men. Trinidad artist Kalanji Arthur has been granted $1 million in bail after appearing virtually before a Port of Spain court. Arthur, who's 26, was charged on May 15 with 6 gun-related charges, including wounding with intent to do grievous bodily harm and shooting with intent. 6 people were injured earlier this month after a car drove by a bar in the village of Speyside. The occupants, believed to include Arthur, opened fire on those on the scene. Arthur himself had escaped death when gunmen opened fire on him and his girlfriend outside a hotel a year and a half ago. His girlfriend was killed and Arthur had to undergo several emergency surgeries. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley has described as regrettable this week's attempted assassination of the Prime Minister of Slovakia. She says this incident is just the latest indication of how much the world has changed.
The world in which we live today is significantly different from the one that we faced then, or indeed at any stage over the 35 years that I have been in public life come July this year. And it strikes me that we don't need to look any further than the last few weeks. We don't need to look any further than the daring kidnapping of a prisoner yesterday in France. We don't need to look any further than the regrettable shooting, the attempt to assassinate the Prime Minister of Slovakia yesterday.
The Guyana government says the demands by the union representing teachers for a 20% interim pay increase before ending their industrial action reflect a lack of interest in conciliation. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandlal, says the government cannot grant an increase for the period of 2019 to 2023 due to what he described as various valid reasons, including the impact of the global COVID-19 pandemic on economies worldwide. In a related development, end-of-year examinations in Guyana, which was set for August, have been cancelled. The Ministry of Education there says the move is due to the ongoing teachers' strike. In a memorandum to education officers, Chief Education Officer Saddam Hussein said the decision was taken as a result of the number of weeks of instructions already lost and the limited number of weeks remaining in the school year. Hussein said primary and secondary schools will conduct continuous assessment in the current August term. Antigua and Barbuda's government has opted to raise the minimum occupational pension for former government employees to $1,000 monthly. Cabinet spokesperson Lionel Hurst on Thursday said that the previous administration had set the minimum at $800. 24 pharmacies in Trinidad and Tobago are being investigated for selling unregistered, fake, or expired drugs there. This was revealed by the country's chief medical officer, Dr. Rosan Parasram. The committee was also told that the popular diet and diabetic drug Ozempic was not registered for use in Trinidad and Tobago. Parasram said that over the period February 2023 to April 2024, the Ministry of Health inspected 280 pharmacies and found 45 pharmacies had either unregistered or expired products. 24 of these pharmacies had been referred to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
We now bring you these international reports.
The NYPD's precision policing ensured that the operation was organized, calm, and that there were no injuries or violent clashes.
That was New York City Mayor Eric Adams speaking at a news conference on May 1st, a day after NYPD officers arrested pro-Palestinian student protesters occupying a Columbia University building. But medical records, photographs, and interviews with protesters tell a different story. At least 9 of the 46 protesters arrested that night inside the barricaded Hamilton Hall on April 30th sustained injuries beyond minor scrapes and bruises. Christopher Holmes, a graduate student at the Columbia Affiliate College Union Theological Seminary, says he was one of those injured that evening by an officer.
They shoved me to the ground, and as I looked up to see what was going on around me, he kicked me square in the eye, and it was it felt like falling really hard onto cement. That resulted in a pretty severe concussion and a fracture of my orbital bone, which thankfully doesn't require surgery.
Documented injuries from that night included a fractured eye socket, concussions, an ankle sprain, cuts, and injured wrists and hands from tight plastic flexi cuffs. The arrest came after Columbia President Manoush Shafiq called in police hours into the occupation at the campus, which has become an epicenter of a student protest movement that has spread to campuses around the world. Reuters shared details of the protesters' injuries and accounts with the mayor's office, New York police, and Columbia. None disputed the injuries.
I was pushed down and knocked down along with the barricades when the police first breached.
Gabrielle Yancey, A research assistant who has since been fired from his job in a Columbia neuroscience laboratory described what he saw and experienced that night.
I saw the police push people to the ground against the marble stairs. I saw them push or hold them down with using their body weight, using their knees, stepping on them. I saw people kicked.
A spokesperson for the mayor declined to say when the mayor first learned that protesters had been injured, while a police spokesperson wrote in an email to Reuters that officers responded swiftly, professionally, and effectively.
From hope for a brightening global economic outlook to AI darling NVIDIA reporting results, these are the stories to watch for in business and finance in the coming week. May business activity numbers from big economies should reinforce a brighter global economic outlook. A slow euro area recovery appears underway, U.S. inflation just resumed its downward trend, and China grew faster than expected in Q1. So global PMIs should stay in the expansion zone for now. That could easily change as trade tensions rise. NVIDIA's quarterly results on Wednesday could set the tone for U.S. stock markets. The chipmaker is expected to report a massive jump in revenue to almost $25 billion, from just over $7 billion a year earlier. The company may need to meet those lofty expectations and then some to keep its soaring stock price moving higher. There have been plenty of reports on the diminished status of London's stock market, but that could be about to change, with a string of household names emerging as potential listing contenders. Chinese fast fashion brand Shein is stepping up preparations for a potential IPO that could be London's largest ever if it's valued at $66 billion. Diamond firm De Beers is another. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand is expected to leave rates unchanged on Wednesday for a 7th straight meeting. It was the first major monetary authority to ease at the start of the global health crisis, and the first to hike in the aftermath. But sticky inflation and a flatlining economy may keep the bank in the watch, worry, and wait stance it adopted a year ago.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above the 40,000 mark for the first time ever on Friday, while the other two major indexes took a break after data this week supported expectations for interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. The Dow added roughly 0.33%, the S&P 500 edged up about 0.1%, while the Nasdaq fell but only fractionally. All three indexes touched record highs in the previous session following inflation data that boosted investor hopes for Fed rate cuts this year, but the exuberance wore off Friday, says Anna Rathbun, Chief Investment Officer of CBIZ Investment Advisory Services.
Well, I think the market is taking a breather today. After the CPI and retail sales report, the bet that the Fed may be cutting rates sooner rather than later really drove the markets up, both on the bond and the stock market side. They can't all keep going up forever, so today I think they're taking a break.
The stocks that moved included Reddit, which ended 10% higher after news it was partnering with OpenAI to bring its content to ChatGPT. Shares of Advanced Micro Devices rose more than 1% after Microsoft said it plans to offer its cloud computing customers a platform of AMD artificial intelligence chips that will compete with those made by NVIDIA. Shares of that chip maker, which reports quarterly results next week, fell 2%. And after spiking in a meme stocks frenzy earlier in the week, shares of GameStop sank nearly 20%. The video game retailer said on Friday that it would sell up to 45 million shares to raise capital, and also said it expects first quarter net sales to drop from a year ago.
Russia is currently not seeking to take control of Ukraine's second biggest city, Kharkiv. That's according to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Speaking in the Chinese city of Harbin on Friday at the end of his state visit, Putin said Russian forces advancing in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region were carving out a buffer zone to protect Russia from attacks.
As for what is happening on the Kharkiv axis, it is also Ukraine's fault, because they shelled and unfortunately continue shelling residential areas of border territories inside Russia, including Belgorod. But civilians are dying there, Everything is obvious. They fire directly at the center of the town, directly at the residential areas.
Meanwhile, Ukraine's top commander warned on Friday of heavy battles looming on the war's new front. Colonel General Alexander Syrski said the attack had expanded the combat zone by around 44 miles, and that Russia had launched its incursion ahead of schedule. Footage released by Ukraine's military intelligence on Friday shows troops firing at Russian forces in the Kharkiv region. In the town of Vovchansk, 27 miles from Kharkiv, the latest round of fighting has prompted the few remaining residents to evacuate. This police officer can be heard shouting, "If you want to live, let's go." Russian forces attacked the northern Kharkiv region last Friday, making inroads of up to 6 miles. The advances have unbalanced Kiev's outnumbered troops, who are trying to hold the line over a sprawling front nearly 27 months since the full-scale invasion. Since then, Putin has faced a political isolation and Western sanctions. But he has increasingly turned to China and his counterpart Xi Jinping to support its war economy. On Thursday, the pair signed a joint statement welcoming a new era of strategic partnership between the two nations, in which they sharpened their opposition to a US-led world order and pledged cooperation across fields, ranging from space and nuclear technologies to finance and manufacturing. The pair welcomed the so-called New Era with not only a handshake, but also a rare hug.
Reject the request.
Israel was defending the military necessity of its Gaza offensive at the International Court of Justice on Friday, only to be interrupted by a heckler. It was a rare moment of protest in The Hague's Great Hall of Justice courtroom, where Israel is facing a request by South Africa to halt its operations in Rafah and withdraw from the Palestinian territory. South Africa's case accuses Israel of violating the Genocide Convention. Israeli Justice Ministry official Gilad Noam said that argument was, quote, completely divorced from facts and circumstances.
Israel is engaged in a difficult and tragic armed conflict. South Africa ignores this factual context, which is essential in order to comprehend the situation, and also ignores the applicable legal framework of international humanitarian law. It makes a mockery of the heinous charge of genocide.
Noam said that Israel's military operations were not aimed at civilians, but at Hamas terrorists using Rafah as a stronghold. The latest hearings at the ICJ have been brought by South Africa to request emergency action in response to Israel's military assault on Rafah. That's as a part of South Africa's wider genocide case against Israel. In past rulings, the court has rejected Israel's demands to dismiss the case and ordered Israel to prevent acts of genocide against the Palestinians, while stopping short of ordering it to halt the assault. Outside the court, Palestinian official Amar Hijazi said it was Israel's side that was presenting a, quote, parallel reality.
That is contrary to everything that the international community, the relevant institutions, the numbers of humanitarian workers who were killed, the number of journalists, the live stream of this genocide, which you have all seen.
A decision on the request for emergency measures is expected next week. More than 35,300 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's 7-month-old assault on the Gaza Strip, health officials in the enclave said on Thursday. Nearly half of the territory's 2.3 million people have taken refuge in Rafah. The war began when Hamas militants attacked Israel on October 7th, killing 1,200 people according to Israeli figures and abducting 253 others. Ahead of Israel's presentation, several dozen pro-Israeli protesters gathered outside the court. They displayed photographs of hostages taken by Hamas fighters and demanded their release.
You were listening to the Midday News on WINNFM 98.9. The headlines: St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister leads delegation to United Nations Conference on Small Island Developing States.
St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister says Development Bank student loan program crippled due to debt.
Guyana sounds alarm concerning what authorities call continued aggression by Venezuela. Kenyan lawyers moved to block the country's deployment of police to Haiti. Internationally, Colombia protesters refute New York City's no injuries claim. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, and Caribou.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com. When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
People make the world go
Good afternoon, and welcome back to the second half of Inside the News. I am German Abel sitting in today, and for the first half of the program, we took a look at the sports in St. Kitts and Nevis. What more can we do to enhance sports? We heard a bit from the minister there. He spoke on the issue of why we did not bid for games, and the fact that several teams are down here for calling St. Kitts their base for the first part of the first leg of the trip to the Caribbean and the United States for the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup. We also heard from one caller who gave us some insights in terms of what should be the general focus for us as we talk about the issue of the Republic Bank issue. And she was basically underscoring the need for us to reconcile our accounts, basically, layman terms, take a detailed look at our expenditure and what we deposit into the various accounts. And it's not just for the Republic Bank issue, but she urged all of us here in St. Kitts and Nevis to look at that, whichever bank we are focusing on. Well, for the second half of the program, we should be joined, or hopefully we can be joined by the president of the Rams Village Superstars Club. But in the meanwhile, we will take a quick break, acknowledge our partners, TDC, Carol Brewery, and then we'll come right back with more Inside the News here on WINNFM.
If you need insurance, our service is the best. Home motor insurance can give you more for less. Property insurance can save you a lot of stress. At TDC Insurance Company Limited, we care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will. Guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. TDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
And we are back here on Inside the News. I'm German Abel, and as I said, we're continuing the discussion here on the program. Yes. So we are awaiting the callers. The phone lines are open. We're taking a look at the banking sector and sports here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So let's take a quick step back, take a look at what the minister said in terms of us prioritizing. The reason we did not bid for games is because we need to prioritize. At the time, it was not a priority focus for the government in terms of the allocation. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. The lady who called in the first half of the program, she said some stuff that were very interesting. But what I would like to say that even with the customers, even though they should have checked up on these things, but they did not. Nevertheless, shouldn't it be the bank? Shouldn't the banking consideration would have at least come to some kind of payment agreement for paying in installments or sort of? So wouldn't that be a better business practice? Wouldn't it also be a better business practice, our best business practice, that yes, even though your customer should have checked up on these things, but you, who is at the head of it all, have the first knowledge of these things. Shouldn't you for the sake of best business practice, alerted your customers to these shortcomings? Wouldn't that have been the best business practice, since they are the first to know these things, that the charges were not deducted? I mean, you should expect that a lot of your people are poor and that sort of stuff. And if you're going to deduct a few thousands from off their account, you expect a lot of them, they're going to even go in the negative. So how could it be best business practice to just deduct all of it one time? I would think best business practice would dictate that you at least call them in and work out a payment plan. And not only that, but like I said, you should have first alerted them to what is going on so that they could come in.
Okay, so Carla, I'll be the devil's advocate here. So you call me in to come and say, okay, Mr. Abel, you owe us $13,000 from 2021, 2022. We did not take monies off of your account, and we want to work out a payment plan for you. Right? Let's say, using your words, a lot of poor people, Mr. Abel's a poor man, but he is, and he has to pay this money. Mind you, he has bills and so forth. How will I be able to pay that when I cannot necessarily afford to pay $13,000, one, and two, I cannot afford to pay my other bills that you're supposed to be deducting, that I have to pay. So, for example, so we got that $13,000. You're going to tell me I have to pay $800 a month. Mr. Abel working for $2,500 a month, and then I have to pay cable, flow, TDC, and these others. Wouldn't it be best for Mr. Abel just to remove his account from the bank?
Just remove your account?
Yeah.
Well, like the lady said, the bank is beholden to the customers who deposited money to the institutions. Okay, so the bank is beholden to the customers. But number one, like I said, you know from day one that because of whatever, the money are not deducted from your transaction. You should have, at that time, at the very beginning of it all, call in or alert your customers, hey, this is the problem we are having. This is what you need to do. So do not let what's supposed to come out adds up to when we got to take out everything one time.
But that's the problem.
Tell your customers from the beginning.
That's the problem.
The problem.
Right? I think that's the problem, because even though you're going to tell them all of this, which financial institution do you know or you prefer to tell you as a financial institution that they're having issues, and that I'm not taking out monies from your account for 2 years? If I call you in as a financial institution and tell you that for 2 years I ended up no money from you, how would you feel?
No, I'm saying before the 2 years coming up. I'm saying at the very beginning, when you took over from Scotia, at the very beginning, before the 2 years come by, at the very beginning, when you knew in the early stage that, hey, money is not being deducted, so I can't let my customers go along accruing money until when it comes to 2 years, I take it out. No. Tell your customers from day one, okay? Hey, we are having problem deducting your money from your transactions. You need to do X, Y, Z. Don't let it add up and add up and add up. That is what they should have been telling the customers from day one. That is best business practice. Don't wait until 2 years after to tell your customers that. Because people are not supposed to be inconvenienced because of whatever error is on your side. People are not supposed to be inconvenienced because of it. But when you say what you said to, I also, and not only that, but it protect your name as well. Because when you reach two and so years and you got to deduct these load of money one time, you're running a risk of a run on your bank, and that is very bad. So telling your people them from day one, hey, do this, do that, because this is the problem we are having at this moment. So that people them could know what to do from day one, rather than late accrue, and the next thing 2 years after you got to deduct this big sum of money. That is not best business practice. But when you say one, you said to. Also, you know what? I also blame some of the blame on the politicians. By the way, I would like to know if the government knew of this. If the government were privy to this information that they were not deducted, that they were not deducting people money. I would like to know the government was privy to this knowledge before this whole thing blew up. I would also like to know that. But what I would also like to say, I put some of the blame on the politicians, not all, but some of the blame on the politicians, all parties, because like I always keep on saying, when you do things the Bible way, that is the only best, proper, and true way to do things. When the politicians are going to promise the people, and we're going to take care of your business, we're going to be doing your business for you, we got your back, we're protecting you, we're doing this, we're doing that for you. You don't have to worry because we're doing your business for you. That breeds irresponsibility on people's part, because people now put everything and all the trust in you, that you're taking care of the business, that you're doing everything for them, that you're protecting them, when you're not. And so if the politicians them did not give the people these impression that, hey, we're taking care of your business for you, and that's how you don't have to worry. And people became very lax and very irresponsible as a result. These are the kind of things that happen to people, but when people know that they have to take care of their own business, that they have to be up to date with their own business, that they have to be responsible, people would be researching all these things, people would be knowing all these things, that people wouldn't be waiting on the politicians to solve and deal with the problem. And so most likely this issue would not have been in the first place if people was not depending on the politicians to take care of the business for them. People would have been responsible enough to know these things because they would have been doing their own research, their own self. So I put some of the blame on the politicians, but most of the blame I put on the churches, because the churches are supposed to be teaching the politicians and everybody else how society is supposed to run, how our country is supposed to run, where the Bible is concerned. So in the end, I really put most of the blame on the churches. Okay. Not all, but most. Because the church is supposed to be the light in teaching people how society is supposed to run, how they're supposed to be responsible for their own business and that sort of stuff, and not the politicians. The churches do not do it because they don't know better. They don't know the Bible. They do not know the Bible. And a lot of these pastors are not qualified to be pastors according to the Bible. But the overwhelming vast majority of them.
All right. Thank you.
So the most of the blame I put on the churches. Okay, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Back. We go back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. Caller?
People make the world go
So yes, we are here and we're talking about the banking situation and sports, especially our infrastructure and developing the young people and using that as an avenue to fight crime and violence here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we go back to the phone line and hear from this caller. Caller, good afternoon. Okay, we're not really hearing that particular caller there. Don't know why. But yeah, so those are the issues that we're trying to go beyond the headlines to get people to have a better understanding of here on the program today. We were supposed to be joined by a representative from the Rams Village Superstars today. Not sure if the person is still coming, but they're supposed to tell us about the plans that they have. They're supposed to be representing the Federation at the Caribbean Club Shield Tournament over in Curacao later this year. Caller, good morning. Good afternoon, rather. I guess guess we're having problems connecting with that particular line there. We're not hearing that caller. But yes, so you're supposed to be joined by Rams Village Superstars, and they're on a quest. You would have probably heard in the earlier this week on the sports news and saw in the media of the team. They're on a quest. They need your assistance to be able to represent the federation or be the federation's representative at the Caribbean Club Shield tournament over in Curacao. If you recall, last year or earlier this year, sometime when St. Paul's represented the federation at that tournament. We go back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. Okay, we lost that caller there. Yes, the St. Paul's represented the federation in that tournament. It was really good exposure for the team to be able to. This is the second time that the Ramsville Superstars team will be playing in that tournament. Caller, good afternoon.
Mr. Abel, good afternoon.
There you are. Good afternoon.
I will play cat and mouse.
Apparently so.
Yeah, let me say good afternoon to all the listeners. And let me shout up Sharon. Now I forgot Sharon this time. Sharon, just good afternoon.
I don't think she's hearing you, so. But I'll
no problem. You tell she. The lady before the news, she on Genius. Well, Greg, good afternoon. It's well, you got some support at the bank. Right? I mean, Greg on the spiritual way. Me on the spiritual way too. Greg must recognize that I'm a more sinful than thing, and what he wants to carry out now will carry out. Mr. Abel, me lose some money in the bank. And can help me lose the money. I mean, visa, so me have to go back to get the visa. And the bank have to for a certain time. Well, after me get the visa now, go and have some money and left here. But then traveling, boys even forgot that me got the account. So one day when me clean up and so, me find this bank book. And me go in. Then so that you go down once, so then send the money to Central Bank. And me have to pay them would have for X amount to retrieve back. No problem. You got it in the account to retrieve back. And boy then run me round, and guess what? Somebody see that bank account. I mean, and then I send the money. I take somebody that I work at it. So after this thing start to come so persistent now. The tellers them, they know who Mr. Abel. Boy, they start to get scared. Look, when you walk at the bank and so you even see countenance and so change on their face. So, couple people tell me to go upstairs to the manager and stop deal with the little tellers then downstairs. At one time, he wanted to tell her, ask some question class, who is number 6? Can you tell me now that then got some numbers there, but no name attached to the numbers? He said to me, sir, what stupid is this girl to tell me? No, I shouldn't even say if I'm a girl or boy. Sorry about that. So, after me recognize, well, a thief the money. At somebody, and then know who got the money. Then they start to tell me now, okay, one start to tell me now that this somebody instruct you what to do and such. Let me tell you, let me have trouble. It's okay, by the time you travel and you come back. By the time you reach back, they say they not get on start out yet. And somebody tell me, look, you know what they do right now, they look on all the account them for see where they can pull this from and pull that and pull this from and pull that from. I mean, just this I could drop on me, Mr. because they say, no, me not go to no money. That's probably who got them. Maybe they got children to feed, maybe they even got loan to pay. Then the next 5-10 years, no, probably lose. Next thing, miss them on the road, a beg, and so. I mean, just drop them. You know what I'm saying? Just not the case. So, the truth about it, you know, really, all of these people, inside this. So Greg, why you look for? You know, gonna be like that. Okay, then I'm still well.
I want to ask you one question though. In this whole situation, and as you recollected on your situation as well, what more do you think we as citizens and customers of financial institutions should do? Because, like as you rightly said, the caller just at the end of the first half of the program alluded that we need to do more in terms of keeping abreast with what we do in terms of financial institutions and transactions. What more do you think that we as citizens can do all across the region to deal with an issue like this?
Citizens can do. if you can hold that, but then if you go and not get answers, you go do too. Because you ask plenty of questions and you not get no answers. And as Greg say, even for the politicians, them and all, because me got a problem right in a one shot. Well, me can say no. Me got a big problem right in a one shot, because even the politicians and them, you ask a question, you not get no answers. Even a parliament way are the most prominent place to get answers. Not even the answers from. You get that? And you have to understand what the financial institution all about, you know. As the lady tell you before. The bank itself, the interest, when they lend out your money, the interest now that they get, that they with them get their money from. And if there's a certain problem, in the bank and all kind of stuff, as she tell you, they might go prefer stop in there and try solve them problems. You they ask question. You know, answer, you not get no answer. You know, maybe you have to bring in liars and quotes and all kind of something. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Good answer?
Yeah.
Okay then.
All right, thanks, caller. Yes, so there you had it. We are discussing the issue of the banking sector, financial literacy generally, as well as being able to, you know, what should we do as customers of financial institutions to ensure that we keep abreast with our financial news in terms of what will we do in terms of our accounts, our spending, reconcile, we don't run through our bank statements, we don't cross-reference to ensure that everything is in order. But at this point in time, we have to acknowledge the people who make the program possible, and then we're going to come right back and continue with more Inside News.
People make the world go round. TDC Financial Services, we're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services, we are strong. TDC Financial Services, this is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go round.
And we are back. We go straight to the phone line. Caller, good afternoon. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Why come your phone went out of
Well, I don't know if it's you who were calling, but we couldn't hear anything.
Anyway, by the way, for all your listeners, Jesus in the city is passing along my road, on Pan Road. So, hooray for Jesus, big up Jesus. I don't know if you could hear the drumming. I pity I can't see it. I would have been down there in it. Anyway, can you hear me? Because I want to contribute.
We're hearing you clear.
All right, because I hear the drumming and so. Now, when I heard about the bank situation, I asked myself the question, why would the people who are complaining, why they did not check their accounts? And felt, well, is the bank doing it so? Because sometimes we take that attitude, when we are not affected directly. You want to tell me 2 years, you swiping card, and nothing changing your bank balance? So you could imagine when they're going to cost me now. Imagine when some of them discover 1 year gone, 2 year gone. You could imagine that they swipe more than what they could afford. Because maybe they felt, and I'm not judging anybody, you know. Maybe they felt, well, this is on the bank. Well, chicken has come home to roost, eh? That's all I have to say. And part is the bank fault. You know, some banks, they send out monthly reports, right? National Bank for one. Nowadays, they don't. All they're telling you, if you want a report, you have to pay, I think it's 17 something for it. Or you have to go online where you could see it. So when some of them said that there were such business people, I said, well, that's a lot of negligence. 1 year you keep swiping the card, and you're not sure. I would have gone in and asked a question, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you have gone to the bank and asked a question?
I mean, that was the obvious thing that should have been, especially if it's the case that you made a payment.
In negligence on the part too. Negligence. One, you swipe, you keep swiping. All right. Now, I'd ask you the question about the IMF report. I asked, when I heard that the government they borrowed $40 million US from Saudi Arabia to buy some generator story. Given what the IMF has been predicting, to me, that was it's similar to what the people on the bank do. You keep hearing that these things may happen. We went to the IMF of our own accord. We walked our ways here. You hear, oh, well, maybe the CBI ain't going to decide you're going to take up $100 and something million. Eh? Why not use our money? Use it now you have it. So they're busy walking around and borrowing. Something is wrong, you know. This, I don't want to say the Labour government, but they just don't seem to have any financial understanding. They just don't get it. Why go and then we're going to have solar, we're going to have this and we're going to have that. And you still take up your goods and borrow 100 and something million US? All you're looking at, well, the debt to GDP is below 60. So you're working to 60? What will happen when it passes 60, you have nothing to bring it down? It's the same thing, you know. Before they reached IMF, it was plain that we were heading there. And even when we started getting the SIDF money, they didn't have to go to the IMF. So when they when they run the debt beyond the control, almost to collapse the National Bank, Social Security, they run to the Paris Club. And what the Paris Club said no, I think they owed either the US or something, to something million. They said, no, we're not going to give you anything. So I don't know if the same advisors are advising Dr. Joe, you need to stop it now, you know. Watch it now. When I heard who was going to be the investment minister, say the same ball game again. The former head of the SIDF is now the head of the National Bank. The accounts are on. They need to stop now. Why? And some kind of flimsy excuse. Oh, we want to buy the generators. I say, somebody just ain't getting it right. We're heading back to the IMF waiting. The IMF is by the gate waiting for us to come.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, Ms. Henry. No, here I wouldn't say that, right? Because
tell me why.
Because the reports that we've been getting is that they've been commending the government, not just this administration, but the former administration as well, in terms of how they've approached various aspects of spending and savings, right? So that's why I'm and this is just my opinion based on what the discussion that we've had with
what
the
I say
IMF
is my opinion too, in that fact,
yes.
And from my experience also. When we look, I keep saying this, CBI the income gonna decrease. What is the present GDP debt to GDP?
54%.
Hello?
54%.
All right. Now we said that they have 60. So because we're 54, we think we can rock and borrow. When the prediction on our income is going to fall, it's like some people working for things, you can borrow $450,000 to build a house. And you're in a job where your income is not going to go up. And you jump up and take it up. The same lack of financial education and understanding. So I beg the government. Another thing. Now I question their commitment to the geothermal in Nevis. I still will any question it. Before you go and borrow your $40 million US from Saudi Arabia, why not engage them in getting the geothermal up? All kind of flimsy, don't make no sense excuse. It has been predicted by them, people responsible, the impact it would have on our energy sector, geothermal. So why are you going into this heavy debt for what? The machines, the generators they have right now can carry the solar thing. Somebody, I don't understand. You know what I usually say? You go for all governments. After election is payback time.
Okay.
After election is payback time.
Miss
because
Henry?
some of these, I don't know who gave, so don't matter call anybody.
Okay, Miss Henry, I know what you're suggesting, but I really do not want us to go down that. I know what you're going to suggest, but I don't want to go down that line.
I know, I'm not going on the car, I don't know who. But when you see some of these investors come and whatnot and whatnot, it causes you to wonder if it's payback time. It don't make no sense. Who is advising Dr. Joe on finance?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
The financial secretary cannot stop the minister, He give orders, she take it. She could make recommendations, but she can't change. So I am saying, Dr. Joe, please, before you run around and take all of these debts, they add up. The sugar factory, we already lost the lands. What we're going to lose next? Government headquarters? We're going to lose the whole bank? We got to wake up. I tell you, IMF is sitting down waiting for us to come. Because sometimes we blame the IMF, And we ourselves, our government, put itself in those positions. Everybody who talks to you, not against you, Because some people, the IMF so-and-so and this so-and-so. I have always said, a lot of the things that they put on us is what we put on ourselves. Proper financial management is what we lack. Now, what is happening to the students who were promised loans from the Development Bank. You heard his statement, right?
Which one?
Hello?
Which statement?
You got to talk a little harder.
I was saying which statement. Is it a case, the one where you talk that they will be allowed to travel and basically a scholarship on behalf of the government?
Not scholarship. They were, you get student loan to the Development Bank,
Yeah, but
right?
basically that's what I'm saying. So basically it's a scholarship because the government is giving some level of concession
Eh?
on it. The government is giving some level of concession. The repayment interest or something like that is very
the
low.
university they want the money because he even saying that the bank is willing to lend. Imagine that. The banks are unwilling to lend the Development Bank the money to distribute to the students. We have CBI money. I don't understand. We're willing to give $40 million to Saudi Arabia, who got money like oil and money.
Okay.
Eh?
Okay, Ms. Henry.
The banks do not charge 5%, nothing percent. The bank want the 11%. And some children, parents, they don't have the collateral. So you're going to put all of this, not all, some of the students in a grind. Will the university demand this money? When I was in Jamaica, and you were not paid for, you couldn't write exams. I remember an Antiguan was there. He didn't even go home. He had to try and get the money. When exam time, they want to make sure you don't owe them anything. So when you pass and you're going about your business, they don't get the tuition fees. So that matter should have been settled by now, because one semester gone. A whole semester, and we're talking about it. We have to make better use of our money.
Okay.
If you can't do it now, you delay the one for the 5 to 18, and you gave the students the loan money.
Okay, Miss Henry, sorry to cut you, but I have to take a break now and begin
right
to wind
then.
down the program. All right, thanks.
Anyway, go out and see, all of you, go to see Jesus in the city. Greg, go see Jesus in the city. The same one you talk about.
Yes, so there you had it. That was that caller. We're about to wind down the program for today. So we'll just acknowledge our partners, TDC and Carver Brewery, and then we'll come right back and continue with the discussion as we begin to wrap the program for today.
Company Limited. We care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will. Guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. TDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Back here on Inside the News. We go to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. Caller, good afternoon. Okay, that caller seemingly is not ready for us there. So yes, as we begin to wrap the program for this afternoon, we were taking a look at the issue. Okay, take this caller. Caller, good afternoon.
Yes, hello. I would try to say this quickly. I don't think most of the people were looking for charges to see whether the charges were deducted or not. I don't think most people were that was in their mind. The reason why I said that is this. Even central bank workers, we are told they can't. Just imagine that. Central bank workers, employees, we are told that this can't. So I don't think most people were aware. I was in their mind to check to see if the fees, the transaction fees were deducted. I think what happened is that, like I said in my earlier call, the politicians told the people that we're going to take care of your businesses, we're going to do everything for you, especially on election time.
Okay.
And people put the trust on them.
Hold on. Okay, so let's rationalize this situation here, right? And you're correct. I would say this. Not everybody, even me sometimes, we do not look at, let's say you go purchase X item now, nobody's necessarily going to look at their bank statement when they swipe the card for a bread, a $2 bread or a $10 bread or whatever it is. Nobody's going to look at their bank card, the bank statement right away to make that determination. But the owners, because I went in a situation the other day where the bank held up some stuff, but the issue is it comes back down to us whether or not we do it today, the 18th of May, or we do it at the 30th of May or the 1st of June. We have to begin to the whole discussion surrounding being cognizant and being able to reconcile. That's all I think is the bottom line here. A lot of people did not do that cross-reference, which again
that's
is
what I believe. Even though the owners, yes, was supposed to be on them, the responsibility was supposed to be on them as well. And I think the bank also had some responsibility in alerting them from the one as well.
Yes.
But what happened to, like I said in my earlier call, a lot of us, we become irresponsible and lax because the words of, for example, the politicians to us every day, especially during election time, that they're going to take care of us, they're going to take care of our business, they're going to protect us. And so we have to trust them to do our business for us. And I think that this is one of the biggest problems why things that we are supposed to be doing, researching and that sort of stuff, checking up on, that we are not doing because we are all leaving it in the hands of the politicians because of their promises to us to take care of our businesses and that sort of stuff. And like I said, the churches are supposed to tell the people, hey, don't take on the politicians with their nonsense. You do your own research. You take care of your own business. You do things for your own self.
Okay.
You know? But the correct advice and counsels and light ain't coming from the politicians and ain't coming, most of all, are not coming from the churches. And so people are just like I said, become very irresponsible and very lax.
Okay.
Including our institutions too. Because they're not taken to task as they ought to be. So yes, so even though the owners, yes, you were supposed to be checking up on yourself and checking up on these things. Like I said, in central bank workers, it can't. It can't. We are made irresponsible and very
lax. You're painting central bank workers as being the pinnacle. They're human as well, and something like this will also impact them as well. Because, as you rightly said, we get too relaxed at times when we're dealing with certain institutions. We expect certain things to be perfect. Right.
Yeah, but the lady who called in who said she work at the bank and so you expect that if she know, you expect hey, these people at central bank to know these things too.
But
and even they get caught.
Yeah, but caller, I really want to take one more call before we go. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to take one more caller before we wrap the program. We take one call as we begin to wind down the program for today. Okay. Oh, there we go. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Abel. I'm calling back again.
Yes.
I just want to say this. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I just want to say being a central banker has nothing to do with it. It's about individual and personal responsibility by each and every individual in the world. We have to set up our minds to do things properly. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Central bankers know this. The layman on the street supposed to know this. There is a saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? And we know this very well. We also know there is no foolish question. We also know that nobody's supposed to rely on the politicians to fix their business. You have to be your own vanguard, your own watchman, your own everything, especially when it comes to money. You talked a while ago about statements. People don't have to wait on statements. Gone are those days. You have a cell phone in your hand, the very cell phone that everybody is worshiping. You go into your account, and you can look at the history. Just a tap. Doesn't take 5 minutes. And you can see the history on your account on your cell phone. There's several ways to skin a cat, so there's no excuse about looking at any statement, and it can be done quickly. Mr. Abel, everything that I'm telling you is the way I live. And, you know, it's nothing so special about me. I keep saying that. You could be sitting on your toilet and have the phone in your hand and looking at your information while you're doing your business. I'm being very direct. People set up their minds to live this way, they will be fine. You get up daily and you operate by design. Practice makes perfect. Some people don't believe so, but practice makes perfect. And if people start to operate this way, they will be fine. It's dual responsibility here, the bank and customers. It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. And so therefore we cannot just blame the bank entirely because an error was made. Because as Ms. Henry said a while ago, 2 years, and you don't know what's going on with your account, something has to be wrong with you. Because you're spending, you're taking the card, at some point in time the card should be declined. Because nobody's going to tell me they're putting our money in droves to keep the card in credit. That's just not true. I told you already, I understand the credit card business very, very well. The antics of it, customers need to start paying attention. Have a good day.
All right, thanks, caller. Well, that caller wrapped us up, and she has again urged everyone to take responsibility and know what is going on with your finances, what's going on with your account, what you have, what you don't have. If you see something that's not adding up, it just takes a couple of minutes. You might be in a line a little bit at the bank. It just takes you to inquire about whatever's happening with your account. Because she rightly said you can't spend more than what you don't have. If you got $10 in your account and you went and you swiped 10 times with $1, you can't expect to get $11 on a debit card. I'm sorry, you can't swipe an 11th time and expect to get something on a debit card unless you have some special arrangements with the bank. So, again, the onus is on all of us to take some level of responsibility regarding our finances, what's on our account, what's not on our account. You know, just cross-reference. Mobile banking is the way to go now. We're in the age of technology, even though we here in the Caribbean tend to still be laxing behind. You know, we're still behind the developed world in terms of using technology. But nevertheless, it is there. You can cross-reference. You can see whatever is happening on your account. My accounting friends, they always say take statements, take your receipts, and even when you go to the ATM, keep your receipts as well. So my accounting friends always tell me that, and my little accounting knowledge and for all of what I studied in accounting. I respect those accountants, by the way. So yes, that was our program for today. It was really, really good being in your company. Today, Saturday, it's a little bit, overcast. Nevertheless, we had a discussion on sports here and sporting infrastructure. We heard from Minister of Sports, Samuel Duggins, outlining that the reason why the government did not bid for World Cup because at the time it was not the prudent thing to do. That's me paraphrasing for what he said. They met several failing infrastructure and so forth, no water and so forth, so they could not prioritize the World Cup over the needs of the people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we heard and we discussed the banking issue here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're out of time. I know you guys are calling in. We're out of time, but I have to wrap right now. If my producer will be down here, and she's already here. So nevertheless, it was good being in your company just during the course of this week. Do enjoy. Anyway, it's a long holiday weekend, I'm being told. It's a long holiday weekend, so do enjoy what is left of the holiday weekend. I will be otherwise engaged and busy. Do stay tuned to the programs this week. I'll be doing a couple of link-ups. Our good friends over at CHTA, they're having their conference this week, so I'll be covering that for you, and I'll be back next week and right here on Inside the News. Hopefully we can actually have our discussion next week surrounding climate change as St. Kitts and Nevis prepares to participate in the SIDS 4 International Conference over in Antigua, where they will be discussing the issue of climate change and the impacts of climate change on small island developing states. In the meanwhile, stay tuned to WINNFM, musical content throughout the day, news and sports from 6 and 6:30 respectively. In the meanwhile, do enjoy what's left of your holiday weekend. Goodbye.